If you're just joining us, my special guest today is Jason Nicholas. He is the president and the chief medical officer of Preventive Vet. His journey towards that, starting his own business, is very interesting. And his goal is to be, as he puts it, be more proactive than reactive on your pet's healthcare. And part of that step towards being proactive is his view on xylitol. So if you haven't heard of xylitol, let me rephrase it. Have you heard of any sugarless gum or sugar-free products? And if you have, and if you eat those or ingest those or drink those, then you probably have taken xylitol. But I'll let you talk about it. I don't want to take the wind out of your sails here, Jason.
Thunder, Michael.
Okay, so why don't you talk about xylitol? And really, I think most of the general populace doesn't know the risk to our pets.
Correct. And we could even go further and say most of the general population, pet owners and otherwise, aren't aware of xylitol in general. And in fact, a lot of them don't even realize. I mean, I always like to spell it because a lot of people think it begins with a Z. It doesn't. It's Xylitol. And xylitol is in a class of compounds called sugar alcohols, which are becoming more and more common in sugar-free products. Some of the things in another area where a lot of blogs and news reports get it wrong is that they say it's an artificial sweetener. It's actually not. It's all natural, which is important from the standpoint of someone who pays attention to their diet and eats all natural foods and no processed sugars and no artificial sweeteners. If they think that it's an artificial sweetener, they automatically discount it and say, well, it's not going to be in my home. And the reality is it's in a lot of homes. We actually have a list on the website at preventivevet.com of over 700 products that have xylitol in it. And a lot of them will surprise people. We published an article back in the summer of 2015 about xylitol creeping up in peanut butters. And fortunately, that went viral. It's been viewed almost 1 million times to this point. And at the time, we thought it was just one peanut butter. And then all of a sudden, we found out that there were 4 others. So it became a total of 5 peanut butters. Fortunately, they're relatively specialty brands. But still, a lot of people use peanut butters. A lot of trainers and vets recommend peanut butter for dogs to help pill them and train them and things of that nature. Now, fortunately, and good news, earlier this month, we actually got word from one of those peanut butter companies letting us know that they actually decided to change their formula and take xylitol out. So Hank's Protein Plus peanut butter now no longer contains xylitol. The nice thing about the peanut butter was it got a lot of awareness about xylitol in general. The problem is the largest culprit in terms of sending pets to the ER and potentially an early grave is typically sugar-free gum. A lot of the sugar-free gums have xylitol in them, and of varying amounts. The problem with xylitol is that it is such a potent toxin when it gets into a dog. It's safe for people, but in dogs, the dog's body, the pancreas, thinks that it's regular sugar, and it spikes their blood insulin, which then drops their blood sugar, gives them seizures, it makes them stagger, it makes them weak, potentially puts them into a coma. And that can happen in as little as 30 minutes. With slightly larger amounts, then it can actually cause liver failure. And very significant problems related to that. And the prognosis with liver failure, as you know, is not very good. But with the gums, there's a varying amount of xylitol in those gums. And so for some gums, depending on what it is, it could take as few as 3 pieces of xylitol containing gum to cause liver failure in like a 10-pound dog. Yeah. It could cause low blood sugar, hypoglycemia with 1 stick of gum. And even for a lab, it could take as few as about, 8-9 pieces of gum. So basically a pack of gum, which a lot of labs are very happy to get into, and a lot of these containers have 30-40 pieces of gum. So this stuff is really devastating, and a lot of people aren't aware of it. They're not aware that it's in their gum. And unfortunately, people also just discard their gum as they're walking on the street. So a dog could pick that up, or, your babysitter, your housekeeper, your, whomever, a visitor, a family friend, comes into your house, puts down their purse on the ground or on the couch, dog gets into it, xylitol gum, and next thing you know, you're rushing to the vet and spending hundreds to thousands of dollars and potentially losing your dog. What we decided to do after that awareness from the xylitol and peanut butter kind of took hold, we thought, something more needs to be done, because what we realized through the ASPCA Poison Control Center calls, they're still getting well over 4,000 calls every year about xylitol intoxication in dogs. And those are just the ones that get called in and known about, and just the ones that get called into ASPCA. There's plenty that never get called in. There's plenty, unfortunately, that never make it to the vet. So thousands upon thousands of dogs every year are being affected by xylitol. So I started doing more research about it. And a lot of the the main reason why xylitol is in sugar-free gum is because it's been purported to be beneficial for people's teeth in terms of helping to prevent tooth decay and prevent cavities and such. Well, there have actually been a couple large scientific reviews of the scientific literature, and it turns out that actually the proof, the evidence for those claims is significantly weaker than has been reported. So perhaps xylitol in gum actually isn't as beneficial for people as we've been led to believe. And so perhaps there isn't as great a need for xylitol in gums. Even if there is, though, xylitol in gums is highly problematic. The thing that gave birth to this newest campaign to actually get xylitol out of gums, we call it #GetXylitolOut, is that there's another sugar alcohol that actually has fewer calories than xylitol. It's less likely to cause diarrhea in people than xylitol is. It's far safer around dogs than xylitol is. I mean, far safer. And it may actually be better for people's teeth than xylitol is. Now, there aren't a ton of studies, but the ones that are out there, and some of them say even based on the chemical structure of this other sugar alcohol, which is called erythritol, we would anticipate it being better for people's teeth than xylitol. So I realized if xylitol perhaps isn't as beneficial for people's teeth, and we know that it's highly toxic for dogs, and dogs are getting into it, and people say, well, you know, gum isn't made for or marketed to dogs or anything like that. Anyone who has dogs knows dogs don't care who it's marketed for or whether it belongs to them or not. They lead with their teeth, and they're suffering significantly from it. A lot of other people say, well, then we should ban chocolate and we should ban grapes and raisins and such. It's night and day. I mean, the potency of xylitol compared to the potency of chocolate, and again, we're really talking about theobromine when we talk about chocolate, it's night and day. I mean, we have a graphic on one of our articles that shows that basically for, I think we have a 70-pound lab or a 60-pound lab, it would take about 8 full-size bars of dark chocolate to kill them, cause cardiotoxicity and kill them, whereas it takes just 1 pack of sugar-free gum to kill them. So it's night and day. So we realized let's create some awareness and also drive a campaign to try and get xylitol out of gums and maybe have it replaced with erythritol. And that would save thousands upon thousands of dogs every year, as well as the heartbreak and the finances, for people who are really suffering when these problems happen. They're devastated, and because a lot of people don't know. So xylitol is, again, it is all natural. It is diabetic friendly, which is one of the reasons why, I think it's gaining in prominence too. I mean, not only is it in sugar-free gums and peanut butters and stuff, and it's actually in some cosmetics and clothes and some yogurts and ice cream, but it's also in some sugar-free baked goods, and it's also available in bulk in health food stores for home baking. So that could be quite devastating. We've all, all of us in the profession have seen the lab or, lab mix or just wants to be a lab, dogs that climb up on the counter and counter surf and grab the, the cake or the brownies or whatever you've just baked. And it changes the game too. I mean, as vets, if we get a call or our technicians field a call that says that, a lab ate, 2-3 cookies off the countertop, if they're chocolate chip cookies, most of the time we're going to say, well, they'll probably be fine. It's, milk chocolate, it's not a lot. But we kind of have to ask another question now, like, were they homemade? Any chance that they contain xylitol? Because if they did, it's a whole other ballgame. We're now no longer worried about the chocolate. We're worried about the xylitol because that's more likely to severely sicken them or even kill them. So xylitol really is a game changer. So we're trying to change the game on xylitol.